Mr. Fabrizi,
Here.
Mrs. Feeney,
Here.
Mr. Harkins,
Here.
Mrs. McNair,
Here.
Mr. Spiegel,
Here.
Mr. Titus,
Here.
Mrs. Alexandrovich, Mr. Cassillo,
Here.
Mr. Petrunger.
Here. Pledge of Allegiance led by Zachariah Fenno, 8th grade student from Strong Vincent Middle School, introduced by Mr. Jeffrey Hutchinson, principal, followed by a moment of silence for Robert Bojelaski, retired teacher who passed away on January 18, 2019, Judith Gardner, retired teacher who passed away on January 23, 2019, Sylvia Carney, retired teacher's aide who passed away on January 27, 2019, Robert DiNicola, retired custodian who passed away on February 1st, 2019, and Mark Colonna, retired teacher who passed away on February 6, 2019. Go right ahead.
All right, thank you. It's our great pleasure to have Zach Fenno representing Strong Vincent Middle School tonight. Zachary's parents are Teresa and Jeff Fenno. Zach is an 8th grader at Strong Vincent Middle School. When we sat down and talked to Zach and asked him what he liked about Strong Vincent and the school, he really liked language arts and science. We asked him, what are your biggest highlights of being at the school? And he said, I love being in the Honors Academy. I love being on the cross-country team and all the other activities that are available at our middle schools. He earned several first-place medals in our meets throughout the school year, representing our cross-country team. He enjoys hanging out with his friends, playing lots of Xbox, and enjoys building bike ramps and things with his friends near the zoo. Zach really does represent the very best of Strong Vincent Middle School. His character and his tenacity and his drive will serve him very well. He will be attending Collegiate Academy in the fall. His long-term plans when leaving collegiate would be to go to the United States Naval Academy, and he hopes to travel the world with the military and represent his country and help his people. So I'd like to introduce Zach Fenno.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First of all, we want to give you a certificate of recognition and appreciation for your leading and contributions to the school. With that, we present you so the flag is every direction. Domino's Pizza. Congratulations.
This month, the board is pleased to honor Hooked on Books for Kids as our community supporter for their continued support of both Edison and Lincoln Elementary Schools. Hooked on Books for Kids is an all-volunteer organization that is dedicated to literacy, learning, and the love of reading. Hooked on Books for Kids promotes these goals by giving brand-new, high-quality books to economically disadvantaged children and youth up to the age of 18. To date, the organization has distributed more than 450,000 books in Erie County through schools, churches, social services, agencies, and more. In addition, volunteers for Hooked on Books for Kids read monthly to students at Edison and Lincoln Elementary Schools, providing each student with a new book to take home. On behalf of our students and families, the board would like to extend our thanks to Hooked on Books for Kids, and at this time, I'd like to invite the organization's acquisitions chair, Bill Konsowitz, to the stage to accept this recognition. you again.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for what you do.
Thanks. Thank you for all you do.
These two. Just tell them that the United Way, right? Right now, we have a presentation on community schools presented by the United Way.
Good evening. My name is Bill Jackson. I'm president of United Way of Erie County. Thank you so much for inviting us to be here with you this evening. We're here to talk about the community school strategy, which is something we are very proud to have brought to our community. It is a proven strategy working throughout the country, but it is definitely a partnership and a new way of working. So I just basically wanted to commit to you on behalf of our board of directors our support of this strategy, because it's based on meeting barriers that children face many times when they come to learn. You can have the best teachers, the best schools, but if children show up not in a condition to learn, whether it be mental issues, health issues, trauma at home, etc., these are exactly the kinds of programming that United Way has funded throughout the years. This is a much more focused strategy to bring this to our community. So I want to thank you for allowing us to do this. I want to commit our strategy to you and our support ongoing. And I'd like to introduce our Vice President of Community Impact, Mike Jarosevich, to give you more details. Mike.
Good evening, and thank you so much for both your partnership, but also this opportunity to share with you some exciting updates about the Community School Partnership. In addition to those updates, we also want to provide ample time for the board to ask any questions they have of United Way or the community school teams. But before we get to that, I'd like to go over the packet of information that we prepared for you today. Holding everything together is a brochure that provides an overview of the model, but it also details the specific partners at each of the community schools, specifically the lead partners and the corporate partners. And I'll talk more about those roles in just a few minutes. The next document, which is the visual, provides a picture of what is possible at community schools. It's not to say that every school will have these resources, but based on the needs that are identified, these are the types of programs or services that are brought into the schools. The next document, again, provides an overview of our local model, how it works. We've included some frequently asked questions. The next document provides an overview of the role that United Way plays in this partnership. We've provided some examples of how corporate partners engage and support our community schools. And then the last two documents are some specific examples of the great things that are happening right here in Erie's public schools as a result of the community school partnership. And for those of us in attendance, there's a wealth of information on United Way's website, unitedwayerie.org/community schools, to provide more background. So what are community schools? This is a model that aligns community and school resources to support the specific barriers that prevents students and their families from being successful. We know that if students lack basic needs, if they've experienced trauma, if they don't have access to health services, it prevents them from being able to concentrate, which prevents them from being able to learn. These are barriers that educators can't address alone. We recognize that education is a community's responsibility, and the community school model is an evidence-based framework that allows us to best achieve student success. So how does it work? Each school has corporate partners that provide not only the funding needed to coordinate the services, but in many cases, and in every instance of our corporate partners here in the city of Erie, they provide much more. So in addition to that funding, they're engaging their employees as volunteers in the schools very strategically. They're providing in-kind donations through donation drives at their businesses. And again, for your reference, the list of all of the corporate partners who've been very engaged in this work can be found in the packets in front of you. In mature community schools, there can be dozens of different partners providing programs, providing resources, but each school is aligned with a lead partner. This is the primary support organization in a community school. They don't do everything, but that's where the work really starts. In addition to the services and programs that the lead partners might provide, and again detailed in your packets, lead partners also employ community school directors. And in a few minutes, I'll introduce you all to the community school directors if you haven't already met them. We see them as co-pilots to the administrators in the building. While the administrators are charged with focusing on the educational outcomes of the students, the community school directors are charged with removing those barriers. They don't provide direct service. They're coordinators, they're facilitators. They're the ones that are working with our partners in the community to help support the students and their families. To do that, they coordinate a comprehensive planning process that results in an action plan. These action plans are aligned with the district's strategic plan. They incorporate data collected by the schools, but they also incorporate additional qualitative data that the directors have collected through focus groups and surveys with the students parents, with teachers, and with community members. This creates a holistic picture of the specific needs at those schools. It then allows those community school teams to identify the specific strategies, action steps, and measurable outcomes that will guide the work in those schools that will lead in time to academic success of the students. United Way's role in all of this work is that of a backbone organization. We're providing capacity building and technical assistance to the community school teams. We help coordinate and facilitate partnerships and meetings, and we also work to make sure that the model is implemented with fidelity at each of the schools. And so since the launch of community schools here in the city of Erie in January of 2016, when the community school directors were hired, there have been a lot of great things that have taken place and that have been accomplished. What we've included in your packets is just a small sampling of those achievements, but I do want to highlight just a few for each school that have recently either been implemented or continuing to happen. So at East Middle School, because of the community school partnerships, there are monthly family movie nights that work to build stronger connections between the families and the school. Their lead partner is providing trauma-sensitive training to the school team to help them better understand and support the students that they serve. They've established a social-emotional girls group to support East Middle School students. And they also offer a cultural dance program now as a result of some of the needs and the desires that were identified through the action planning process. At Edison, they were able to coordinate a field trip to the Erie Bayhawks. They provide specialized behavioral health services to the students. They're able to provide primary care for students with vision problems. They've established a student-led beautification team to help improve the culture and the actual school itself. At McKinley, they have grade-level science modules in the classroom that's aligned with the curriculum. They have a yoga program for girls. They have a dyslexia remediation tutoring program available to students in need, and they have an English learner adult education program. At Pfeiffer Burley, they have volunteer classroom helpers that work to support the teachers. They have a parent awards breakfast. And they have trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy program. And they also now have course available to students who are interested. Finally, at Strong Vincent, they have student achievement lunches to recognize students that are doing well in school. They have an artist in residence. They provide mobile dentistry services so students in need can get restorative care right in school. And they also have a tutoring program. Again, this is just a small sampling of the great things that are happening in our schools because of this partnership. And for the rest of our time here with you, I'd like to invite the 5 community school directors up with me at the podium. I'll ask that they each introduce themselves, and then any questions that you have about the work that's happening or the partnership, we'd be happy to answer those for you. So while they're walking up to the stage, are there any questions, or would anyone like to provide comments?
Mike, we'd really like to thank you for all that United Way is doing for our schools. I've seen fantastic things happening in our community schools. I think it's wonderful that you're bringing services that are much needed into the schools where it was very difficult before for our families to reach out for those services. So I want to thank you for that. The only question I had was, which of our community schools have had the trauma-informed training for our teachers?
Hi, I'm Jamelia, I'm Community School Director here. We are on our 4th trauma training this Friday for In-Service Day that we started last year. So Safe Harbor comes in and does that training for our teachers.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Tammy from Edison. Achievement Center has also delivered trauma-informed services through different various in-services last year and part of this year for our teachers as well.
Megan Easter, the Community School Director at Pfeiffer Burley. Our lead partner is Family Services, and they provide the trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy to our students and family members, but they are also available for support within our student assistance program as well.
Hi, good evening. My name is Katrina Bird. I'm the Community School Director over at Strong Vincent Middle School. We do not as yet have any trauma services for our teachers. However, we do have through the Achievement Center a satellite mental health center now in our school. It'll be operating, I believe, next week. So, thank you.
I'm Amy Grandy. I'm the Community School Director at McKinley. We currently are working with Family Services as well for our students, working with students who have been identified as having trauma. We actually just had a conversation, though, today about getting some trainings for our faculty and staff as well.
Anybody have anything else?
Mr. President?
Well, then Tyler's first.
Sorry, I
Thank
beat
you. No, it's all right. Go ahead.
I just kind of wanted to second what Ms. Feeney had said. I couldn't speak highly enough or rave enough about what the work the community schools have done. It's absolutely critical, and I'm excited to see it go further into our district and help the students more. And just kind of wanted to reiterate, I know we've talked a lot as a board just about bringing trauma-informed to all the teachers, because I really do think it's a district thing, and it shouldn't just be on the community schools that holds it. But thank you guys so much for kind of leading the way. I know that it speaks wonders to my heart. This is where all my passion is, and I'm just so very, very grateful for what you guys have done.
Mr. Castillo?
Thank you. Same story, different chapter. I also totally appreciate the efforts of the United Way and what you have done and the impact that you have had on our children and the community. Also, just want to make a note to everyone that the United Way, through their community schools program, is only one of the many great programs that United Way offers. We are so grateful to be the beneficiaries of this program. And I think we're going to see the impact years from now of what is a result of the efforts that you have expended. And I want to thank you for that. Lastly, anyone that can donate to the United Way, I highly recommend it. It's a great organization. You've heard from two of the leaders, and I certainly would highly recommend when it comes to time to donate to a charity. I'm sure you're 501c3, so monies donated are tax deductible. Thank you again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Angela?
I too would like to say I appreciate what the United Way has offered to help the district with, and I see all the wonderful things that their community school directors have been doing. I just had a couple questions. Just for East, that has the mentorship group, just a little bit more information about that. And then also just about, I'm just noticing the people that you have partnered with and wondering, I know that you did a needs assessment for with each school because I tried to get a little bit more into this at the beginning stages of when community schools started, but I haven't gotten really too many more updates since then. So just wondering, you know, have the needs changed? Are you still assessing ongoing to see, you know, what other programs you offer? Just because I see some have more programs than others, and I know in different demographics, people have different needs, and then also the selection process, or what does the organization need to do to become a community schools partner?
I kind of forgot, but I think I know what you said.
The Penn State, the
Penn
mentorship.
State. Penn State Barron Mentorship Program is a program that Ms. Praters has set up. This is the second year they've been with us. They come here every Monday. I think it's every Monday. Right, Joe, is it every Monday? Okay, it's every Monday. And there's, I think it's about 6 students that come from Barron. She selects the students that participate, and it's usually our 6th graders. So they just partner and they do different activities every Monday, have lunch together, things of that nature. As far as needs assessment is always an ongoing thing. We do surveys. Well, for me personally, I did a survey last year, of course. It was the first year of East, and I did a survey this year to find out what those needs are. They kind of carry the same, and when new things are needed and I'm informed, I do search and find different partners. And when I vet partners for our school, number one, I definitely try to pick something that's free for our students to be able to participate in. And also at this time, where there's not many funds available, we also try to choose partnerships that are willing to come in and do the services or program activities for free as well until we get there. I think that's all I have.
Hi, Angela. I want to answer your question about how to become a partner. It's not hard. Each of our schools did a strategic plan and action plan, and if your program or whoever's program fits into our model, what we have according to our action plans, then we will partner with that person if their program has what we need. Or if not, if you could tweak what you have in your program to fit our needs. Like I know in the beginning you said like you have a mentoring program, so that's not what we needed in the beginning, but now we're at that stage. So if you're willing to come back to the table and sit with us, we'll be more at Strong Vincent to sit down and have a discussion.
Or just anybody in general. I know there's a lot of programs that, you know, I know the district has their own vetting process of how they deal with, you know, third-party agencies and programs that want to come into the district, but just wondering how would one connect, or even maybe
I also forgot that we do partnership agreements with all our partners. So it has to go through us and the district and the United Way that gets a copy of this partnership agreement, so we all know what they're supposed to be doing, when you're supposed to be here, and how much you're supposed to be doing it. So that's also a part of the process. It's a process for anybody to become a partner. We don't, you know, there's many of people who are in line trying to do something, but we want to, like Katrina said, make sure it falls under our action plan and and fits our needs.
So when there might be an interested partner, there's a couple ways that the connections are made. As you've heard, if it's identified a need in the plan and the directors are actively looking for a partner, they'll go out and, with our assistance, find an organization that might fit and then go through that partnership agreement process to make sure that we've talked through all the elements of that partnership that are needed. United Way also supports the partnership by identifying partners in the community that we see alignment opportunities with the plans. In that case, the directors meet with us every other week at United Way for planning and for support. Oftentimes, we'll invite speakers to that meeting to make a presentation to all of the directors. So at the appropriate time, the directors can then reach out to that program because they know the contacts and invite them into the school, again, going through that partnership agreement process. So it certainly is an open opportunity for organizations to support the schools, but we want to make sure that the program partner is meeting the specific needs of the schools, and that also they're going to be providing the services at the level of the level of quality that we would expect in the schools as well. So in the event there are partners in the community interested in working with community schools, would encourage them to reach out to United Way, and we can work with them to talk through the process and get them connected where appropriate with the schools.
Super. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Presentation on Skills USA presented by Ms. Pamela Mikowski. I know how much she likes this.
Good evening, members of the board. Mr. Polito, Ms. Sabersky, my name is Pam Mikowski. I'm the Director of Career and Technical Education for the school district. Thank you for this opportunity to recognize some of our Skills USA students tonight. Skills USA is a national career and technical student organization that empowers its members to become world-class workers, leaders, and responsible American citizens. Skills USA improves the quality of our nation's future skilled workforce through the development of skills that include personal, workplace, and technical skills grounded in academics. All of our career and technical labs at Erie High participate in Skills USA. On January 18th of this year, 17 of our students participated in the District 10 Skills USA competition. I would like to recognize those students, some of whom are with us here tonight. Out of about 400 students that participated in the District 10 competition, we had several that placed and several that won medals. I'd like to start with the students that placed. If you're here, ladies and gentlemen, come on up on the stage and be recognized. In nursing assistant, in the Health Bowl knowledge competition, 10th place, we had Serena Walker, Eunice Polium, Amy Porter, and Veronica Potter. In 9th place, in first aid and CPR from the Protective Services Lab, we had Braden Dunbar. In 5th place, in the job interview category from the Medical Assistant Lab, we had Jalasia Preston. In 4th place, in crime scene investigation from Protective Services, Zach Shank. Criminal Justice, Faith McClelland, and Protective Services, Alyssa Mook. They participated as a team. Also in 4th place, we had Devin Dunbar from Protective Services, participated in firefighting. Also in 4th place from cosmetology, Brianna Morgan. Also in 4th place from our auto body lab in automotive refinishing technology, we had Alec Cabaldo. And in 4th place, we finally got somebody that was here. In 4th place in collision repair technology, also from auto body, Jacob Martinson. And then we had 5 medalists in the competition. In 3rd place, we had Autumn Sorweed from culinary, who participated in the culinary arts competition. Autumn's not here. Also in 3rd place from criminal justice, our lone 10th grader, Mr. David Bellotti from criminal justice. Also in 3rd place, bronze medal in nursing assistant, Alyssa Fisher. In 2nd place from our engineering lab, we had, he competed in related technical math, Abdullah Sadiq. And I know I pronounced your name wrong, Abdullah, I'm sorry. And we had a gold medalist this year in 1st place in CNC milling in our machining lab was Maxim Daichkin. Of these students, there are 4 students that are moving on to the state competition. One of them is our gold medalist, Maxim. And joining him will be Molly Young and Chris Moonahan from TV Broadcasting from our digital media lab. The reason they didn't compete is because there wasn't enough District 10 competitors for them to hold a competition, so they got a bye and they moved straight to states. Also moving on to states is Emma Johnson in welding sculpture, and I think Emma has her sculpture with her. Nope, you didn't bring it? Okay, sorry. She did an absolutely gorgeous sculpture of the Niagara. which we're all pretty sure is going to take first place. So I can't wait for you to see it. It's very nice. But I'd like to congratulate not only our participants and our winners, but our Skills USA other participants who came here to represent, as well as their parents and their teachers. Thank you very much.
Too late, Rob. Through the introduction of Noah Sheldon, student representative to the board for February and March 2019. Noah Sheldon is a senior at Northwest PA Collegiate Academy and serves as a vice president of his class. During his past 4 years at Collegiate, Noah has been involved in student government and a part of the school yearbook team. He is currently employed at Starbucks, where he works as a barista and holds the position of coffee master, which was a very vigorous process and required 10 months of training and testing to obtain. Welcome, Noah, and if you'd like to say anything, go right ahead.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me tonight. And as silly as it sounds, Coffee Master is a real position, I assure you. It was approximately about 12 months to a year of training. I think I said 10. I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind at this age. And I was able to complete it in 8 months. It was like an expedited process. Fastened process, so it's something I hold very highly. But thank you again so much for having me here.
Coffee's on you next meeting. I would like to announce the board met in executive session on Wednesday, February 6, 2019, in Conference Room 3 at the Dr. James E. Barker Leadership Center, 148 West 21st Street, from 6:47 p.m. to 7:33 p.m. regarding legal and personnel matters. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Foundation for Erie's Public Schools awarded 11 teachers with mini grants totaling nearly $14,000 last week. I'm pleased to announce that the theme the Foundation chose for this year's mini grant program is also one of our 4 foundational pillars of our strategic plan: safe climate and strong relationships with students, families, and communities. On Monday, February 11th, Erie's Public Schools received a $500,000 grant from the Department of Education that will allow Mercyhurst University to develop a computer science and STEM curriculum for grades K through 12 in our district. The grant will be used by Mercyhurst to train Erie's Public Schools teachers, renovate existing computer labs, and construct new labs. It will also offer summer coding camps and internship opportunities for all students. We're very excited about this program. In honor of Black History Month, Erie's Public Schools, in collaboration with the City of Erie and the Mayor's Office, have chosen 4 middle school students to act as Mayor for the Day every Thursday through the month of February. These students were chosen based on their positive behavior and desire to succeed in a classroom. The day's activities include participating in Mayor Schember's weekly press conference, a tour of City Hall, riding in both a police cruiser and a fire truck, lunch with the mayor and his staff, and more. Each of the 4 students will share their experience at next month's board meeting on March 13th. Also, in honor of Black History Month, East Middle School will present its first annual play called The Rebirth of a Fallen Race on Thursday, February 28th at 6 p.m. The play is directed by Kim Overton, and costumes were provided by the Erie Playhouse. More information can be found on our district website. I also want to remind families and students that we will be in session on Monday, February 18th as a makeup day for the 2 weather cancellation dates of January 30th and January 31st. And finally, on Friday, February 15th, the Erie High Royals will face off against McDowell in the District 10 Class 6A boys basketball semifinals. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. at the Mullen Gymnasium and in the Haggerty Family Event Center at 501 West 12th Street. And now we'd like to present this month's Stair Climber Awards. Mr. Nixon.
If I can get my cohorts to step on stage.
Thank you, Mr. Polito. Hi, everyone. My name is Ken Nixon. I'm the Coordinator of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the school district. And with me tonight, I'll have Jill Crable, who will be assisting me. She's our principal of the Patrick J. DePaulo Student Success Center. So I thank her for her participation tonight. Before we go any further, I do want to recognize and give thanks to all of our parents that made it out tonight, parents and guardians. If we could join in a round of applause for them. We tried something a little different. We had a meet and greet before with refreshments and light snacks, and I think it went well to just kind of be comfortable and ease our way into this meeting for tonight. The Sticktuitive Stair Climber Award is our monthly student recognition award where we recognize students for showing fortitude, ambition, and tenacity in making improvements in their attendance, their positive behavior, or their classroom performance. So tonight, I will introduce and award our February stair climbers. Students, as you come up, if you would please meet me at the podium, shake my hand, see Mrs. Crable for your plaque, come to the stage, stop for a picture, stand with the board for a large picture, and then we'll exit out with families and students into the lobby for individual school pictures. And let's let the fun begin. All right, 9th grader from Erie High School, Ashton Holden. Ashton has greatly improved his attitude and behavior since the start of the school year. He is often the first student in the room, gets his work out right away, puts forth great effort, completes every assignment, and does very well. Ashton has made gains from 20 to 40 points in almost every class. He has a 96% in English. Ashton deserves to be commended for keeping up this great work. Ashton Holden. Sorry, most of our stair climbers have RSVP'd, so it's okay, things happen. 10th grader from Collegiate Academy. Michael had a tough school year last year. He came back this year more focused and determined. While carrying all honor classes, Michael has earned a GPA of 3.5 and 3.75 for the first 2 quarters of this school year. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Manning. Seventh grader from East Middle School. Jacob has greatly improved his effort and grades since the beginning of the school year. Ladies and gentlemen, Jacob Lewis. Seventh grader from Strong Vincent Middle School. We call Adriana our quiet leader in 7th grade. Her sense of humor, work ethic, and academic prowess will serve her well. Ladies and gentlemen, Adriana Abernethy. Sixth grader from Wilson Middle School, Taiwan has greatly improved his behavior since the beginning of the year. Ladies and gentlemen, Taiwan Robinson, Jr. Me and Taiwan go back to Jefferson days, so we know each other well. I think since kindergarten, so I'm getting a little old. 5th grader from Grover, Cleveland. Olivia has turned her academic career around this year. She has awesome attendance and has had 0 behavior events this year. These are all improvements since last school year. She is currently a CAT, which has her working in a lower grade as a class helper and role model. Ladies and gentlemen, Olivia Black. Fifth grader from Joanna Connell. Latrell has improved his grades this year and continues to have excellent attendance. He has improved his behavior and has become a model Connell student. Ladies and gentlemen, Latrell Cooley. Third grader from Deal Elementary. Chloe has increased her reading fluency by over 30 words per minute on her dibbles. Ladies and gentlemen, Chloe Dana. Second grader from Edison Elementary. Fiston, who likes to be called Mark, has come a long way in math and reading from the first quarter to the second. He currently has above an 80% in all of his subjects. His behavior has also improved in the classroom and during unstructured time. He has not missed one day of school this year as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Fiston Walonja. Fifth grader from Harding Elementary. Overall, exceptional student, gifted program, extremely hard worker, respectful role model for others. Ladies and gentlemen, Papuri Magno. Third grader from Jefferson Elementary. Delasia has worked extremely hard this year. Math, reading, and writing scores have gone up second quarter and has very good attendance and behavior. Ladies and gentlemen, Delasia Lynn Cooley. Great handshake. Fifth grader from Lincoln Elementary. Dion has improved tremendously. She is a leader and an inspiration to her classmates. She is a member of the Bully Busters Club and has greatly improved her academics. She proudly participates daily in her class. Ladies and gentlemen, Dion Sparks. Fifth grader from McKinley Elementary. Terrell has made great academic progress this year and is a classroom leader. He assists with the Principal 100 Club every day and likes to help others. Ladies and gentlemen, Terrell Green. That's a big fifth grader. Plays basketball. Might see him out there at Deer High someday. Fifth grader from Perry Elementary. Stephanie has brought all of her grades up from B's and C's last year to all A's. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephanie Claudio. Second grader from Piper Burley. Makeem Thompson is receiving a Bringing Up Grades Award, also known as BUG Award, for the second quarter. He is working so hard. His reading scores are going up every week, and he is putting so much effort into his math. We are extremely proud of the progress he is making. Ladies and gentlemen, Makeem Thompson, Jr. Ninth grader from the DePaulo Success Center. This is a middle school recovery student from Wilson who has completed 8th grade and is working on 9th. Well, that was actually sent in last week. So as of today, Mrs. Crable has made me aware that Darius Goodwin has now completed all of his 9th grade courses and will soon be moving into his 10th grade courses as well. So that's tremendous work. So ladies and gentlemen, Darius Goodwin. Okay, stair climbers, if you guys could scoot into the middle, right in front of the board members there. Yep, walk in front, we'll just kind of line up, fall in. Okay, parents, so after the picture, we'll meet in the lobby for individuals. And ladies and gentlemen, these are your February 2019 stair climbers.
he's not on yet? Andy, do we have Mr. Zogsby on the phone?
I'm here.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Polito.
All right, this evening on the agenda, the school board is considering a change to its responsible contractor policy based on recommendations made by our state-appointed financial administrator, Charles Zogby. Since there is a lot of misinformation circulating about these changes, I've asked Mr. Zogby, who's available by phone, to take a few minutes to summarize the changes he is recommending. Mr. Zogby?
Thank you, Superintendent, and thanks to the board. And I also want to apologize for not being able to be there in person this evening. I ran into some car trouble that left me in the mid-state here, and again, I'm sorry that we're doing this by phone, less than ideal. As the superintendent noted, I put into my plan that's now with the Department of Education a change in the district's responsible contractor policy. That policy has contractors who wish to bid on the district's business certified to a list of 15 items that they must meet. One of the items that I highlighted as problematic was a requirement that a contractor participate in what is defined as a Class A apprenticeship program. That requires that the program be registered with the state, and that secondarily that it graduate apprentices to journey person status 3 of the past 5 years. That's a description of a program that doesn't exist anywhere in either federal or state law. Apprenticeship programs may be beneficial to employers as a workplace training approach. I think everybody could agree that there are also other ways to train employees, but by limiting contractors to this one particular way, the district is in fact preventing a larger number of other contractors from even bidding on the district's work. I think it's also the case, too, that the district itself is very poorly positioned to make judgments about contractor workplace training programs. I don't think there's any expertise that resides in the district to be able to make judgments about the quality of employer programs. Some may be good, some may be bad. I don't know that the district has, again, any expertise to make those sorts of judgments. Policy is also rare in Pennsylvania. I can only find 2 other school districts out of 500 that had a similar type of policy. One was the Colonial School District in the Southeast. It adopted the policy fairly recently, and it was immediately sued in federal court in a case that's still outstanding. The other school district was Bristol Township and I believe Bucks County. They had this policy for several years, but recently amended it, and in a way that I'm suggesting here for the Erie School District. I would suggest that to the extent that the district's policy is placing more requirements on contractors to bid for the district's work, what in effect is going to happen is that you're going to have less competition, you're going to have fewer contractors eligible to bid on the work, and the likely result for the district is going to be higher bids, meaning that your facility capital dollars are not going to be able to go as far as they otherwise would. There's an example from the district itself from 2013 with respect to some electrical improvements that were proposed for Strong Vincent. In May 2013, bids were let without the responsible contractor provision. Those bids came in but were subsequently rejected because of the lack of the responsible contractor determinations. They were relet in June of 2013, and the winning bid in June of 2013 was nearly 48% higher than the winning bid in May of 2013. All of the bids that came in June of 2013 were all higher than the bids that came in May 2013. I would suggest this limited example and just common sense suggests that to the extent that you're limiting the number of contractors who can bid on your work, the likelihood is that you're going to pay higher prices for your work and get less done. And your facility plan at $80 million only covers a fraction of what the real need is in the district. I've heard through other people a number of representations that have been made about this policy change, and I'd like to just address those briefly. Number one, what I'm suggesting, what I'm proposing does not in any way impact change prevailing wage requirements. Prevailing wage requirements are set by state law. Any school district project over $25,000 will be subject to prevailing wage rates. There's nothing in the policy proposal that I'm putting forward that in any way touches prevailing wage. Secondly, the proposed change, the change that I'm proposing does not eliminate in the policy the apprenticeship program. A contractor who wishes to bid on your business could have an apprenticeship program, but what I've also done is allow another avenue for contractors to participate, namely meeting the same contractor responsibility requirements that are imposed on bidders for Commonwealth work. So it's the same policy as the state's policy. Finally, there's nothing in the policy that I'm proposing that in any way affects the district's career and technical education programs or in any way limits opportunities for district students. Anyone who suggests to the contrary is just patently false. I think what the policy change will do is likely generate more bidders for the district's work, resulting in lower bids and the likelihood that your limited facility dollars, capital dollars, will go much farther in addressing your needs. Thank you.
Do you have anything else?
That concludes my report.
Okay, I just need a motion to accept the report of the superintendent.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Harkins, second by Mr. Spiegel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We will now move on to the hearing of citizens. Persons desiring to speak for 5 minutes must submit their request in writing to the Secretary's office at least 1 week prior to the board meeting. All others may speak for 3 minutes. We have no 5-minute speakers. Being that we have a lot of people, I ask that you please try to hold to your 3 minutes. You come up to the podium. I don't have you on here for 5 minutes. No, Angela says no. You still have an opportunity to speak, if you like.
I come down here to let you know what my feelings are. I'm very disturbed about these kids fighting at school. We pay too damn much taxes for them to be coming there to fight. I don't understand it. I thought you had security there. Of course, the kids are not coming. There's some kids that are coming there to learn. But those that come in there to fight, you should separate them. Separate the sheep from the goats. I don't understand. You're in charge. You're in charge. You got those blue coats, you got the police force down there. I've been under the weather. I've been sick. When I got up, I was watching TV. I always try to watch TV because I want to know what Trump's doing. Your president, I want to know what lie he done told. Anyway, I see these kids tussling. They're fighting. 3 or 4 of them, maybe 5 or 6, I don't know. Is that what we're paying our taxes for? For the kids to go to school to fight? If you wasn't taking taxes out of me, I wouldn't even be down here. You know, those foreigners, the foreign kids come in here, they're hungry to get some knowledge. They're hungry to get an education. But our kids, they don't seem to understand what's going on. Some of y'all ain't doing your job. Somebody is not doing their job. And if you're not doing your job, you don't have no business up there. I want to see a change. I want to see a change. Kids going to school to fight. That don't make sense. We're paying our taxes to watch them fight on TV. It doesn't make sense. And I got to say to the parents, you don't seem to be doing your job. You don't seem to be doing your job. It's not all up to the teachers. You should tighten up on your kids. If you love them, you want to see them do good. But if you don't love them, keep them at home. Don't let them disturb the kids that are trying to learn. I hope you do something about that. Somebody has dropped the ball. I want you to pick it up.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
You're not up there just for us to come down here and look at. We want to see you do your job.
When you come up to the podium, if you could state your name, print your name and address on the tablet provided, please.
I already did that, thank
All
you.
right.
Before I begin, would all the apprentices in this room come stand behind me at the podium, please? Thank you. My name is TJ Sandell. I'm the president of the Great Lakes Building and Construction Trades Council. I'm here to discuss this change with responsible contracting. I got these apprentices here who would like to stand here with me while I read my statement. I looked at this proposal and I gotta say, I'm very disappointed. This change, very sneakily, disables apprenticeship programs and it hurts them by not keeping education with education. I'm very disappointed by that. And Mr. Zogby's correct. There would be more bidders, but they're all subject to prevailing wage. He admitted that on his call. So that means the playing field is level. They all have to pay the same wage. They can't cheat. If they do, they're in trouble. And there's multiple lawsuits against cheating on prevailing wage. I can name tons of them. Ryco Incorporated did a sprinkler job down near Pittsburgh. They cheated with non-American steel and got in trouble. There's also multiple times where a contractor, unscrupulous, has cheated on prevailing wage. Why would we ever want to open ourselves up to that? Why would we want to hurt? This is an education system here. Why would we want to hurt educating young men and women? And the building trades takes big initiative on recruiting minorities. We're very proactive on that. We work with many groups to do that. When you get an out-of-town contractor that brings all their employees from out of town to work on a project here, you think they're going to hire any local people? Don't count on it. It didn't happen at the Cobblestone Hotel, and it's not going to happen in a school district job. I can guarantee it. We're very proactive on that issue. Attacking this is shameful. This is an educative process, like I said before. We need to stand together as educators. Our instructors are certified. They're certified programs with the Department of Labor and Industry. Why would we attack and hurt that? It doesn't make any sense. Not an iota of sense. There's not a bit of savings for the school district in this at all. Actually, you're setting yourself up for liability. All of these apprentices standing here have OSHA certifications, every single one of them. These unscrupulous contractors out there, you think they give their people OSHA training? Probably not. Maybe a few. So you're setting yourself up for job site accidents. It's mind-boggling that this would even be an issue. I can't understand why. Why hurt education? Furthermore, Mr. Zogby says, oh, this change isn't going to make any difference. It does make a difference. It makes a difference to harming the community and harming community apprenticeship programs. These are local people and local jobs. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
My name's Mike Jamarisi. I'm about to graduate the apprenticeship in June. I'm a veteran of the United States Navy, and if I called in to work because I had car trouble, I don't get paid. So I wish he could have been here so he could see the people that he is talking about undercutting. I appreciate TJ putting us all together so we could come and show you who we are, and that it is insane. We're sitting here, we pay out of our checks to the United Way. We support the United Way as the Carpenters, United Carpenters. We support the United Way. Those programs that you were up here talking about, Skills USA, the girl who was a welder, you know what I mean? Those are the kind of people that we're looking to bring into our organization. So it's a one hand washing the other kind of thing. I mean, this is, you know, rebuilding Erie, marathon, not a sprint. Thanks.
Good evening. My name's Bill Panitsky. I'm a business agent for Steamfitters 449. I'm here to talk about our apprenticeship program. Some of the things that are said I don't quite understand either. The additional cost to a project because somebody is a part of an apprenticeship doesn't make sense to me. All of these members, they pay into our apprenticeship fund. There's no cost to the contractor. There's no cost to government. That goes into an education fund that then pays for the next generation that's coming through. So to say there's a expense or some sort of extra cost to it to be part of the project, I don't see where that comes from. I would encourage everybody on this panel to come and see our schools. We would love to have you. Our school is in Zelienople, Pennsylvania, Harmony, Pennsylvania. The Plumber School, they have a school here in Erie. The Carpenters have a great school down near Pittsburgh, but we cover all of the district in Western Pennsylvania. So with that being said, you have an education system, an education board that's actually going against education that, that these students go through and also our instructors. The United Association, we send our instructors through a 5-year training program to then teach our apprentices further down the road. So all of our instructors are qualified instructors, and then our apprentices get trained the right way, in safety, in doing the right thing. To Mr. Zogby's comment about the project that was bid and then rebid, you can't use that as a justification. That's one job. That was one set of numbers that were used. To say that you'd actually get a good job out of the job that was $100,000 less than the other job that was done, they could have missed something in their bid. So I'd like to just throw that whole idea away that you would have gotten a cheaper job and the same job. And again, it's all prevailing wage. I would say that you want apprentices that are recognized by the state as apprentices on your job, because under the prevailing wage, apprentices are recognized and they have to be registered with the state. So somebody that's not part of a state program can't be an apprentice on that job anyway. So that's all I have to say.
Hi, I'm Scott Johnson. I'm the business manager, Roofers Local 210.
I did reach out to some of you guys yesterday. I did talk to John. We talked for roughly, 45 minutes yesterday. I'm thankful for the information you gave me. Now, to touch on, as me and you were talking, and to reiterate what the other ones were saying, prevailing wage is still there. So again, you're not saving anything because they have to pay prevailing rate. In all actuality, I don't know if you truly understand how the process works. A non-union company, whether they have an apprenticeship program or not, but most of them, if they're non-union, they don't have an apprenticeship program, or they have one that they cheat on. They don't graduate them into the journeyman. So with that being said, if they step onto one of your roofs, or I'll use roof because I'm a roofer, they have to pay every single person on that job top rate, which for us is $44.26 an hour. So they hire a guy yesterday. He comes on and gets paid $44.26 an hour, as with everyone else. A true apprenticeship program can come in. We have 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% people. Now we have to follow guidelines as in what the ratios are, but when they come in, the reason we do that is so that we have upper people overseeing what the lower people are doing. It creates quality. It creates a great product. Now with that being said, what is the other one doing other than making a whole lot more money? For every person on there, are they trained? Who knows? They won't have an apprenticeship program. Do you guys know if they're qualified for that? As an example for the electricians, let's say an unqualified person comes in and starts doing the electrical panels. A fire happens. Well, inside this school, I'm sure fire alarms are connected to the electrical panels, correct? What if they don't go off? Who's getting put in harm's way? So you're not saving anything. And then, I'm sorry, I may be wrong, but I think it's really convenient that this Mr. Sogsby didn't show up tonight. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe he truly did have car trouble. Awful convenient for tonight. Now, when you look back for some of his stuff, I did my homework today. I looked him up. Vice President for Secondary School Partnership. Goes against public education. Was the Senior Vice President of Education and Policy through K-12. Again, goes against public policy. I know you guys did a thing last year looking for the funding. What was the number you guys were looking for last year? You had to take it to a committee and have this committee verify that it's what you thought. It was 30-some million, right? What'd you get? 14. Whose idea was that? Mr. Zogsby. So how is it that he's knocking all your guys' funding down, numbers down and everything, but now he gets to come in and make this recommendation against apprenticeship programs? I'm sorry, I think it's all BS. Apprenticeship programs are here for us, for everybody else. They had a valid point. I actively recruit at schools on a regular basis, trying to pull people in to give them a good living wage coming out. You guys are part of an educational process. Why would you want to go against that?
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Petrunger, Mr. Harkins, members of the school board, members of the administrative staff, Mr. Wachter, thank you for this opportunity to address you. Number one, I saw a placard today for Tech After Hours. And two things that jumped right out at me were, number one, that it featured construction trades. And another thing was that it had machining and welding apprenticeships. I thought, here I'm going to talk about apprenticeships, and here it's right on a placard for the Erie School District. We're talking about costs when we think about this, and understand, as you've been pointed out, and most of you are aware, that this is prevailing wage. Everybody has to be paid the same thing. But apprentices are the opportunity to train a skilled workforce for our community for the future at a rate that can be adjusted because they are registered apprentices. 50% beginning out, 55, 60. I'm not going to tell you exactly that I know which number it is, but it moves on as they move up through the gradations. That's an important issue. So that's a savings. That's important that they're going to be in our community, and they'll be here, and it's a reduced cost for the present, passed on to the contractors, ultimately to the school board. We need to support apprenticeships and not work against them. The reason, as he pointed out, Mr. Zogsby pointed out, at the second part of what he had against the apprenticeship programs, you're required to graduate. I could become a contractor and just pick up 5 guys off the street and say, they're in my apprenticeship program. But if they're not registered, if we don't have a curriculum, if we don't have accreditation for that curriculum, if we don't have teachers that have a certain amount of acumen for what they do, what are we going to teach them? And there's no sustainable results that no one graduates? I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. So I ask you, please, to vote no on that recommendation tonight. And I also ask you not to outsource the janitorial and custodial projects for the school district, because I'll tell you this, when you are no longer in that business and the supplier, the vendor, the outside vendor is there, he will begin setting his own prices because you'll no longer have the personnel or the equipment to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Rick Bale. I'm an instructor with Local 27, the Plumbers Local. These are our guys here. I just want to give you a couple things of what they do. They work 40 hours a week. Then they get in their cars and some of them drive 40 to 50 miles to attend school 3 nights a week for 3 hours. They give up a lot. They have to have, when they graduate, 10,000 hours of work and over 1,000 hours of school. Don't belittle what they do. Thank you.
My name is Jeremy Lewis. I'm from here, Erie, Pennsylvania. I represent Local 210. I'm actually a second year in the apprentice program right now. I learned a lot of things on the roof, but I learned a lot of things being in this apprentice program. I'm certified in CPR, training, OSHA certified. I do my hours, and you know, for me and my lifestyle and where I come from, this is like the best thing that ever happened to me. And learning, you can go to a job and you might learn through other people, but being in an apprenticeship program, you got hands-on right there. You got journeymen and foremen coming in, showing you things so you can take to the roof. And having an apprenticeship program earn you away from 50 to 60, 70, 80, 90%, we're qualified. We're stamped. If you get someone outside that, you could just lose out. But when you get one of us on your roof or in your buildings or anything has to do with your locals, we're stamped, we're certified. You can depend on us. And we can go home at night and sleep good knowing we did our job, and you should be able to do that too. And that's just all I gotta say. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jack Grimm. I'm a plumbing instructor at the Erie School. I teach code, and I'd like to tell you that every guy that I send out of my class has passed the Erie's codes test. I'd like to know if your other instructors or people that don't have apprenticeships all graduate people that have plumbing licenses or not. Because every person that comes out of our school has an Erie license. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? If not, we'll move on, get to the business at hand.
I would like to say something.
Go right ahead.
My name is John Fisk, and I'm a second-year apprentice in the Carpenters Hall. And we're working in hospitals and different institutions. And for example, a hospital, you need to have a plan to prevent construction dust or debris from entering where patients are. And then with all the different trades, we have a program called ICRA. It's called the Infectious Control Risk Assessment. And all of us here, in order to work in a hospital, we have to be trained on it. And I can guarantee you, non-union guys or people that don't go through an apprenticeship don't have that program. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all right. You can still speak.
I am pro-union. My name's Carrie Tabb. I'm the mother of an 11th grade student at Erie High. I too, like the gentleman before me, am concerned about the constant fighting. Many times my daughter's coming home with videos that have been sent to her or ones that she's caught herself of some of the most brutal fighting that I've ever seen in my life. There's one that I'm the one that forwarded it onto the news that was displayed. I was in shock. They grabbed this poor girl by the hair, dragged her down a flight of steps, and are punching her as they're dragging her down the steps. That entire 4-minute fight, there was no blue coat, there was no resource officer, there was no teacher, and it was in the hallway of it was in the hallway of Erie High. Scared the out of me. Today, my daughter texts me. I know she's not supposed to have her phone, but she turned it on to tell me that she was almost involved in an altercation that happened this morning. She was stuck in the stairwell as they're dragging a student out, putting him in handcuffs today. Again, thank goodness in that instance there was teachers, there was resource officers there to break it up. But not but a week ago, I go to sign my daughter out for a doctor's appointment. I go through the attendance doors, walk right in. There's not a person. I didn't have to get buzzed in. I walked right in. There used to be a gentleman that sat in the seats. There was nobody there. I could have easily walked into that school and done God knows what. What happened to the security? Where is it? And what are you guys planning on doing to help these kids? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think it's important to clarify something that was said. It was the Pennsylvania State Senate that decided that we would get $14 million, and as part of the law they enacted to give us that, they said we will be sent a financial administrator, and that became Mr. Zogby, but it was not Mr. Zogby who decided on whether we would get anything or 14. It was the Pennsylvania State Senate. And then that administrator that they required to come here became Mr. Zogby.
All right. Anybody else like to speak? If not, we'll move on. Journey reports of committees and liaisons. Oh, go ahead.
First of all, my name is Daryl Craig. I'm with the Blue Coats. And you know, I heard him mentioned here twice tonight. And I came out of concern for the report about the fighting. But I'm one of those Blue Coats that are there every day. And I'm sure if you talk to your daughter, she'll tell you that probably 90% of those fights are girls, okay? At one time, that posed a problem for us because we were mostly men, and we try not to interact with the young women in any nature that would cause us to have to get physical. But after meeting with the staff there and strategizing some things and getting some qualified and trained women to come on board, we're starting to beef that up. So I think that over the next couple of weeks, you'll see that that is going to be reduced drastically. Yep.
Just as a follow-up to Brother D, I did pool the number of fights that were what happened at Erie High this year compared to last year, and we're actually down about 30%, 37% the total number of fights. However, one fight is too many fights at Erie High. We continue to make safety as our #1 priority, and we do have a group of concerned parents that did reach out to the administration. There is going to be a meeting next week at Erie High with those parents and the administration, so if anybody is interested in participating in that, if you could see Mrs. Habursky after the meeting, and she'll take your contact information, and we'll make sure that you get hooked up with the administration.
Go right ahead. Hold on a minute.
Oh.
There you go. Now go ahead.
All right, thank you. Hi, I'm just a student from Collegiate Academy. I just had a quick question.
I noticed when a lot of the construction workers were in here, there wasn't really any response to their issues they voiced. So I was just curious why the board doesn't respond directly to the questions, just so they feel like they're being heard.
Well, the reason for the podium there is for people to express. It's never a question and answer thing, usually.
Okay.
Very rarely is it. And then usually when a subject that they're speaking about comes up, there's a discussion by the board.
Okay, thank you. I
Okay.
just wanted to make sure they
Not
felt
a
like their
problem.
voices were being heard.
Not a
Thank
problem.
you so much.
All right, anybody with committee and liaison reports? Nobody? Okay. We'll move on to, there's no unfinished business. We have new business.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Harkins.
I move we adopt item 6, only the new business of the school district.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt item 6.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Feeney. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Fabrizi?
Yes.
Mrs. Feeney?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mrs. McNair? Mr. Spagle?
Yes.
Mr. Titus?
Yes.
Mrs. Alexandrovich? Yes. Mr. Castillo?
Yes.
Mr. Petrunger?
Yes. We're going to move on to item 8, which is something Mr. Fabrizi separated. But I need a motion. Make a motion.
To separate?
Just a motion to.
Sorry.
Do we have to make a motion to discuss it, or can we discuss it first?
I need a motion to approve it.
Well, we have to discuss it, and because I made the separation, I speak first, right? I mean, that's how it reads in Robert's Rules of Order, right?
Right, this is a separate item, but we need a motion and a second of some nature, whether to approve or disapprove, and disapprove. And then that would open it up for discussion, and because you separated it, you would speak first, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Wachter, am I correct that if no one moves the motion, it fails for lack of a move?
That is correct. If there's no motion and there's no second, then the item would fail and you would move on. There'd be no discussion at that point.
I make the motion.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Fabrizi, second Mr. Titus. And now we'll have a discussion.
The reason I separated this is what everybody was here talking about, okay? This is about the responsible contractors bidding process. And the reason I separated this was because I'm going to tell a little bit of a story, but the way the things went, I mean, the conversations that were had here tonight, first of all, I want to commend everybody that came here and that spoke. It come out in a snowstorm. It means that it was something that people cared about, and I care about it too. What I want to tell everyone here is that the decision that's going to be made tonight, okay, is that the first thing that happened was that a policy meeting took place about 2 months ago, and this was brought up in that policy meeting. There were 3 board members there. Mr. Zogby brought this up. Mr. Zogby's been appointed by the state. Mr. Zogby is responsible to put forth a financial report that's going to the Department of Education to be approved or disapproved. It's in that process at this time. He has 45 days to do so. At this point, because of the bidding process and because it was something that well, anyway, 3 months ago he brought this up. When I said, and I spoke against it and said that the 3 people in this room shouldn't know about it, that it should be something that was discussed by the whole board, it was told to me at that time that he was backing away from that. Then suddenly it appeared in his report, and we reconvened the committee that had already made the changes that we needed to make in our policy and passed it, but we reconvened that committee so that he could say that this was in that report, this change. So when this change, also what was told to us at that time was that because of the construction that we're moving forward on, because of the projects that we have, that the confusion about what our bidding process would be should be cleared up. And so we were asked as a board, we were being asked as the board to clear it up and to do it ourselves and not wait for the approval from the state. So no matter what happens here this evening, okay, it's not over because it's still downstate and is going to be approved or disapproved by the Department of Education. And as far as I'm concerned, I want everyone to know that the report is whatever the report is. I have two problems. One is the outsourcing of the custodians, and two is the change in the responsible bidding contract. I believe that when we asked for the 14 million, as for the amount of money that we asked for, we put ourselves into the fight that goes on in Harrisburg on a regular basis between people that believe in public education and believe in unions, and people that don't believe in education and don't believe in unions. And we were put into that fight. And so at this point, what's happened is Mr. Zogby, who belongs to the group that does not believe in public education and does not believe in unions, was sent here, and we have no control over what he puts in his report. And his report, if accepted, but as it stands, we have no power to overrule it. Thank you very much. I appreciate the help. But so in the end, what I'm saying to you is that I believe this board is pro-union and pro-public schools, and that we're making a stand here tonight, even though it may put us behind. Even though it may put us behind by a month, and I feel bad about that because I want to see these projects move forward, but I don't believe that a month makes a difference. I'm making this vote by principle, by my principles, okay? Some people may think that I'm doing it for votes, and I just want to assure everybody, I'm not running, I'm up for re-election in the next coming up election, and I'm announcing that I'm not running next. So I'm not running this next time around. So this has nothing to do with votes. This has to do with principle and me standing by standing by my principles for the whole 7 years that I've been here, and I'm going to continue it until I walk out the door. Thank you.
Mr. Titus?
Mr. President, I just wanted to take a moment to comment and kind of reiterate what Mr. Fabrizi had said. I had stated this when we were in the committee of the whole. I am not in favor of any of the proposed amendments to the policy as it stands, as I think it is an undermine to the unions. I think it is an undermine to our community. I think that this amendment ignores social injustice. I think it ignores classism. I think it ignores racism. I think it ignores every staff position that we would be putting on the line. I think it hurts our school district. I think it hurts our community members. I think it hurts the families within our community that we are trying to help. I think that there are enough barriers for a lot of our community members as is. I don't think we need to add to them. I think we should be supporting those who are taking it upon themselves to create these apprenticeship programs and create skilled labor jobs. So I wanted to just kind of reiterate what Mr. Fabrizi had said, and that I do not stand in favor of the suggested amendments.
Angela?
I'll be really quick because I agree with both Robbie and Tyler, and just want to add a little piece of, just the fact that we'll be doing a dishonor to our students by any type of change with the apprenticeship program. We'd be doing them a disservice by not providing that opportunity for them. I did ask a question during our committee meeting. There's still going to be enough bids there for projects to get done. There are enough qualified providers to provide the services that we need under the conditions and provisions that we already have. I feel no need to change anything, and I will not be supporting any new policies in regards to this matter. And I just want to tell this man right here in the yellow shirt that I did get your message, but for some reason it just disappeared because you weren't my friend on Facebook. But I looked for it and I couldn't remember your name, but I did want to respond to you and let you know that I would not be in favor of any changes. I feel like it would be a disservice to our students and to the unions, I will not be supporting any changes tonight.
Who's next? Anybody? You can be, Darlene.
I'm an educator, and I always told my students that learning is doing. You have to practically apply the knowledge and skills that you've acquired, and that's what you do. And I respect it, and I'm also not in favor of the change to this policy. One of the things that strikes me, which is important to me, is the OSHA training that is required. My husband worked at Hammermill for many years. He worked in the chemical industry. I know how important that certification is. I want our students, in the end, even if we have to wait, to have the best quality construction in our schools. And so for that reason, I am also not in favor of the changes to the proposal.
Mr. Spiegel.
Well, I suspect I'm going to be a little unpopular here. This isn't a union or non-union issue, what some people like Robbie are leading this to believe. And my father was a lifelong Teamster. My brother's been a lifelong union member, so I get it. But it is our responsibility here as the board is, without being crass, not to take care of the individual apprentice. It's to take care of, number one, our students. Our primary responsibility, no matter what the will of the crowd is to take care of our students first, taxpayers second, employees, and then other stakeholders. That is in our mission as school board members. That's our job. We have to take that responsibly. Now, there's a reason why there's 500 school districts and only two other people that have, or two other districts that have this, because the will of the state says this is not necessarily the best thing for the students. I'm not saying it's for or against the union members. Please don't put me in that lump. I am only here for the students. I'm not here for you. I'm not here for the superintendent. What you guys do, that's on you guys. It's our responsibility to act on behalf of the students. Number one, taxpayers second. All right, and I take that very seriously. Now, the proposed changes really make a big difference. They really do. It's not saying that the doing away with the apprentice program, that's what you guys were led to believe. If we vote the or, then the apprentice program goes away. That's not at all the case. I think that is a misconception of what's going on. Absolutely bid. Knock it out, as you should do. Why would you not? The issue is how many companies, how many businesses will bid on our projects? Basic economics, as an economic major in college, supply and demand. If there are going to be more companies bidding, which we need to look at, hopefully you would just stand to reason that the bid prices would come down. Now, I think that's a bit of an extreme example that Mr. Zogby gave of the electrical contract that was at Strong Vincent. But he said 48%. When I did the math, it was like a 33% difference. Regardless of that, let's assume it's only a 5% difference. Now, again, it's prevailing wage, so the individual employees are still getting paid the same, so that's off the table. Let's assume it's a 5% difference over $80 million. $80 million, I would imagine, is the most amount of money that anybody in this room has ever, besides maybe some of the other legislators that are here, that have ever spent or have committed for. If that is off by 5%, let's say we can just with the union contractors, if they know that they're going to be bidding, what if they sharpen their pencils just by 5%? That's an extra $4 million. That's $4 million that we can put on another roof. We can have increased curriculum. There's 4 million ways we can spend that money for our children, not for the individual workers. I care more, and I take this seriously, I care more for my son that goes to Strong Vincent than any one of the apprentices here. And that's how we need to act. We have to think about our students first. Now, I don't know how many of these the apprentice workers here live and pay taxes here in Erie. I know I do. I'm sure that some of them do. You're absolutely right, sir. I agree. But we have to take care of Erie taxpayers first. My mother lives in here. She can't pay her own taxes. Now, we are going to have the same conversation of how much we're going to have to raise taxes. Not if, how much. So we're going to give away money, yet we're going to charge more for taxes. I have a tough time with it. And it's not just about the apprentice program. That's a great program. You would have to be ignorant to say that apprentice program is not good. It's a very good program. But that is not saying that they're the only programs that are the best. What about having a financially sound and a very good experienced management team? That goes a long way. And we have to forget, or we can't forget, that there's other pieces of this part. And what about the lawsuit? I could say, hey, Mr. Wachter, how much money are we going to spend defending a lawsuit? That's an awful lot of money that we, taxpayers, are going to have to pay to share that burden, because the odds are we'll probably get sued. Then I'll say, all right, Tim, just keep those billable hours going, bring them in. And then what about how many of these, if we don't have enough firms that are going to work on the projects, they're going to have to go out of town. Now, going in my hierarchy, students, taxpayers, employees, and stakeholders, I care more about the stakeholders in the city of Erie and our jobs. Because if we don't have enough firms to complete these tasks, we're going to be forced to go out of town to Pittsburgh or some other town to get those businesses in here. I care more about the jobs staying here in Erie first. That is a very real concern. It seems to me that, and I don't know, I don't want to sound trite, but we have a status quo. And we're staying status quo. If we don't change the status quo and be progressive financially, and that's why we have a financial advisor as a superintendent, because it makes sense. We are running a big business here. I know some of my peers say this isn't a business. Anybody says that isn't really thinking correctly. We're running a business. Our business is education, but we have to run this in a financially responsible manner. And I'm not against the union. That'd be silly for me to say that. I'm for children. That's where I vary. So I would implore all of you to think about what he said and vote for the OR, because the OR doesn't dismiss the apprentice, because it doesn't, but it just opens up for better financial planning on our part. Don't be rude. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Go right ahead.
I'll be very honest with you. I was somewhat on the fence earlier today as to whether to vote for the change or not. And then it struck me that Erie schools, Erie High in particular, educates students who may not be college-bound, but they do educate children, young men, young women, in trades. And it would be, in my own thought, it would be a how do I put it, a betrayal of our students if we train them for 3 years or 4 years in a particular trade and then go out and say, well, yeah, you can go to your unions and continue on and become a journeyman at some time. But you don't get the quality education in the trades initially as you would in Erie Public. Now, not to say that those that are in the position to alternate and not be in the same educational program as our Erie Public, but I think it's in our best interest to promote the young men and women who are graduating with these certifications. they can then choose to go forward any way they want. But I don't see any benefit, because the inherent thought process is that if you are bidding it a union job and a union job, that it's always going to be higher. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that when you're in a competitive situation, you're in a competitive situation, whether it's against another union shop or if you're bidding against a non-union shop. It doesn't necessarily equate to savings. I think Mr. Zogby took a one incident and blew it up, in my estimation, because obviously it happened. One of the other reasons why I was a little skeptical was that we had those who are not in favor. We don't have the numbers to debate the issue. We don't know that contract that was executed in 2014 would have, or did, save us $100,000 by having that provision in there. So I have to agree with Rob and the others as well. Tom, I respect your thoughts. We share those thoughts as well. Our children come first. Our taxpayers come second. And we need to be mindful of that. And I respect the fact that those people that bid on the various $80 million in jobs are going to respect that as well. So I am not going to vote in favor of the change.
Vote down, we're done.
We've got to give everybody a chance to speak, Tom.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Go ahead, Linda.
I've listened to everybody on the board, and I do agree that there's no reason to change the policy, so I'll be voting no.
Go ahead, John. Mr. Harkins.
There have been numerous meetings that Rob, Mr. Fabrizi, Mr. Spiegel, and I attended, and it's all kind of crystallizing here tonight. But throughout the process, I've been trying to bring into focus exactly what's at stake here, what is worth hanging on to, and what is worth abandoning the status quo and making this change. And a meeting or two ago, I asked Mr. Zogby if he could take a stab at putting a monetary amount on what we might save by having, as he says, more bidders who aren't restricted by this apprenticeship requirement. And of course he could not, and I didn't expect that he would have a real number. He could not. But I'm going to re-ask the question that will help me to understand. I want to learn something. Since apprentice program as is or not versus what's proposed, the prevailing wage rate is paid to the workers unless they are an apprentice, in which case the apprentices get an apprentice's rate. I want to understand how a potential successful, reputable, responsible contractor might be able to vastly underbid a contractor who uses the existing apprenticeship program and save us and drive the bid down. How can they do it if the personnel costs to them are going to be very much in line with the existing way? And I don't want to over-explain my question. I think that is the question. How can great savings, how can the bid price be driven down by someone who would now come in under the new proposal to dramatically, significantly bid so much lower that it's worth it? That's my question, but I just want to throw in that what we did do when we enacted the original policy was place an extra layer of protection for us so that an unscrupulous or dishonest contractor couldn't hire some schmoes off the street the day before a job begins, declare them to be apprentices, not give them the full prevailing rate. By calling them apprentices, he could give them what's the apprentice's rate, or what he wants to say is, and then we don't have the benefit of the better trained actual apprentices. So the question, if it can be answered, maybe, I don't know if Mr. Zogby's still on the line, if he can or would want to take a stab at it, or if someone in the administration could, but how might a responsible, reputable, successful, experienced contractor who does not have an apprentice program, how might he significantly, successfully drive down the bid price other than personnel? I just can't envision it, but I don't want to declare that it can't be so. That's my question, like how much money is potentially at risk if we stay? Well, I'd rather hear either from Mr. Zogby or from someone in the administration if they want. And if not, I understand, it's a difficult, you can't, nobody can give a factual number, it's just a speculation, but I'm just trying to understand how it is envisioned that we could save a lot of money.
That I don't know.
Okay, well.
All
right, well, if not, listen, I just want to say one other thing. Before we, I can sense this isn't going to pass, and I want to add my voice, but before we do deal with it, I want to mention to the solicitor and make him earn his money, in case we would want to consider what Mrs. Feeney had asked about in the work session, which was a good question, and you gave a good answer, about streamlining the timing of the process. Could we, if we might want to consider changing that end of the process timing that we discussed, if you know what I mean. If we would vote this down, can we then not bring that up? Might we want to throw this into the mix before we deal with one or both of them?
If there's a timing question that you would like to have addressed in the policy and you vote this particular version of the policy down, we can take a look at the language, resubmit it back to the policy committee, and have a review of it and a vote in the March meeting.
Well, as long as we don't lose time, I'm just meaning, I thought if we voted this down, then we could not, unless we'd waive the rules and get approval to just include that timing change.
I believe that we would be able to bring it back up as it would be a different amendment. It wouldn't be the same amendment. Once you vote down one particular policy, you're allowed to bring up a different version under the rules.
Well, as the saying goes, I don't want to lose the baby with the bathwater while we're still in the midst of it.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I can respond to that. The board did adopt a streamlined process when they made the amendment to the policy last time around. Our big concern with the administration is when we had the 30-day waiting period. That has been eliminated and has been reduced down to 5 calendar days, which means that we typically, when we open our bids, we present it to you in a committee of whole meeting to get your blessing before we move forward and put it on the agenda. So as it stands right now, it would not slow up the bid process, so we're comfortable with that.
You good? Yep. What's that? No, I'd like to speak. Yeah, if I could. And Tom, I always, appreciate your opinion, and like I've told you before, everybody that has an opinion on here, I don't believe that anybody that is on this board doesn't think of the children first. Every person that serves on this board, this is a non-paying job. We all do this voluntarily, spend many hours doing lots of research, and everybody's #1 priority is kids. But I can tell you, I don't agree with this policy. I've been in the district a long time. I worked for the district for 30 years. We actually had an apprentice program when I first came in for carpenters that we brought internally, and I served a 4-year and became a master carpenter. I understand the importance of it. It gave me a job for many, many years, 30 years. So, a lot of the guys we get that bid on our jobs come from apprentice programs. I know that. I know these guys personally. And kids that are graduating our school that are in a career in tech. Back in my day, we had every type of career, every type of job up there, and you had many more opportunities, and hopefully we get back there. But a lot of those kids that don't want to go to college may rather go in an apprentice program. I believe it's put in place to undercut the the people that do have it, the laborers, that's the only reason for it, is for some reason, they think they can undercut it, come in cheaper. I was a carpenter here. When this building here was built, 6 months after it was built, because we used the cheapest stuff we possibly could, it started falling apart. I believe in labor, and I'm voting no on this subject, so that's all I had to say. So I will now call for roll call, please.
Mr. Fabrizi,
No.
Mrs. Feeney,
No.
Mr. Harkins,
No.
Mrs. McNair. No. Mr. Spagel,
A very unpopular yes.
Mr. Titus,
No.
Mrs. Alexandrovich. Mr. Castillo,
No.
Mr. Petrunger.
No. I thank everybody for their opinions. With approval for the minutes of January 16, 2019.
So move.
Approve them?
Mr. Castillo, second Mr. Harkins. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Bills and payroll.
I move we pay them.
Motion by Mr. Harkins, second by Mr. Spagel. Roll call when you're ready.
Mr. Fabrizi,
Yes.
Mrs. Feeney,
Yes.
Mr. Harkins.
Yes.
Mrs. McNair. Mr. Spagel.
Yes.
Mr. Titus.
Yes.
Mrs. Alexandrovich. Mr. Castillo.
Yes.
Mr. Petrunger.
Yes. Report of the secretary.
Will we accept it?
I have a motion to accept by Mr. Harkins.
Second.
Second by Mr. Castillo. I think that's his, or was it Tyler? Tyler? No, it was Dart. It was Dart?
No.
Sure sounded like Bobby.
He beat me. What's it, Mr. President?
Bobby seconded.
I got a bigger mouth.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Fabrizi,
Yes.
Mrs. Feeney,
Yes.
Mr. Harkins,
Yes.
Mrs. McNair,
That was the secretary.
Mr. Spagel.
Yes.
Mr. Titus.
right?
Yes.
Mrs. Alexandrovich. Mr. Castillo.
Yes.
Mr. Petrunger.
Yes. A word on bids.
Move we award.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Harkins, second by Ms. Feeney. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Fabrizi,
Yes.
Mrs. Feeney,
Yes.
Mr. Harkins.
Yes.
Mrs. McNair. Mr. Spagel.
Yes.
Mr. Titus.
Yes.
Mrs. Alexandrovich. Mr. Castillo.
Yes.
Mr. Petrunger.
Yes. Any other matter? Anybody would like to speak? Or a motion to adjourn?
Move we adjourn.
Mr. Castillo, second Mr. Spagel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.